All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our MSP Fall 2022 funding information session. I'm Bridget Brown, as most of you know, the coordinator for MSP, and I have with me Laura Hermans, who is the partnerships coordinator for the Institute for Systems Change and Peacebuilding, which is kind of our sister institute on campus, working out in the community. So I am here sharing my presentation. I'm going to put it in presenter mode. Can you see my screen, Laura?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to put this in presenter mode. Hopefully. Yep. And go ahead and share my screen. And today we're just going to talk about some opportunities for funded positions and other types of funding opportunities for when you do your MSP degree. And these are mostly opportunities available through our program, but we'll talk a little bit about each of them. So we'll cover teaching assistantships, systems change and peacebuilding fellows program, MSP scholarships, and then I'll talk for a minute about some other opportunities you might consider. So I'll start with the teaching assistantship. So we will have, it looks like just one position for a teaching assistant for next year, and that will be a 50% appointment, which ends up being about on average 20 hours a week of work for our Introduction to Peace and Conflict Studies class for undergraduates. And the TA is the term that we use, the shortened term for that. The TA will do planning, grading, leading discussions, working closely with a faculty member. The pieces that are included with that appointment are spring and fall tuition are paid by UWM. The TA is paid a monthly salary, and they have the option to pay a little bit out of their paycheck each month to get health insurance. And then they get to have professional practice in course planning, teaching, facilitation, and kind of learning some stuff about peace studies, and also practicing some skills. A couple of things aren't included with the TA. So every semester we have these fees called student segregated fees, and those are fees that cover like your library, your gym, all of the campus facilities, bus pass, all of the like resources that students use on campus and in the community that are included with your education. You pay for those out of pocket every semester, and those are about $800 to $1,000 each semester, and we are not allowed to include those in any kind of student employment position. The other thing is summer tuition with a TA. A TA is a 9-month appointment, so it goes September to May. So summer tuition is not covered. And in the summer for MSP, you do field work, and that's 2 credits. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then fieldwork expenses, specifically for students who are traveling abroad. They can, there's lots of costs involved with that. But also if you're doing, doing something local that requires any costs, those are not covered in a TA. I'm going to hand it off to Laura to talk a little bit about the fellowship program.
Thanks, Bridget. Hey, everybody. So yes, I'm going to share a little bit about the Systems Change and Peacebuilding Fellows Program. So this is an opportunity to work as a graduate assistant, really working closely with our community partners. And this is really a chance to build deep relationships with our community partners, as well as a chance for you to build and practice your peace building skills that you'll be learning in your coursework. So this is typically a 2-year commitment because we really value the relationships that you'll build at your placement. And it can vary from 13 to 20 hours per week, really depending on the needs of each of our individual partners. So these positions really can vary depending on what our partners need. And I'm going to throw a link in the chat as well that will give you an idea of some of the different placements that our fellows are currently working in. So we've got fellows working in a variety of different settings, including in areas working with food systems, working with circle dialogues and trauma healing, working on youth development, what else do we have? Refugee and immigrant resettlement services, decarceration and justice in the legal system. So a variety of different areas. So the process will really be a matching process. So if you're interested in becoming a Systems Change and Peacebuilding Fellow, we will spend some time getting to know you through an interview and then look for a mutual placement along with our partner. So it's not a set position necessarily, but we'll kind of work together based on our current partners and your interests to find a match. So this part, as a fellow, you'll also participate in an orientation in August, monthly community of practice development sessions, and an end of the year reflection session. So there's some kind of professional development built in, as well as an opportunity for you to make connections between all of the different placements that you and your fellow fellows will be working in. It does also include a monthly salary, as well as optional health insurance. It does not include, as Bridget mentioned, the segregated fees, summer tuition, depending on the length of your placement, and any field work expenses. And like I said, there's a little bit more information and some of the current fellow placements at that link in the chat.
Thanks, Laura. I'll move on and just talk a little bit about scholarships. So we don't have a set amount of like a certain dollar amount that we know that we can award every year. It's just, it really depends on the donations that are made into our scholarship fund. But typically those awards, they're always partial tuition, and they typically range from about $1,000 to $6,000 as a one-time award. So like I would say, like students that are coming from out of state or internationally, that's not usually enough to really like change the program from being not affordable to affordable. Whereas students who are coming from Wisconsin, the tuition is a lot lower. And so oftentimes students that are in state, we call them Wisconsin residents for tuition purposes, like that type of a scholarship might be just enough to kind of make it affordable for you. You can't combine it with a fellowship or a teaching assistantship. So when we do offer awards, any kind of funding award through our program, it's typically just one type of funding. So it's either a TA, a fellowship, or a scholarship. Those aren't combined. And then students with a scholarship can also be offered student hourly work though. So because student hourly work kind of comes up at various times throughout the year as positions become available. So for example, there could be work with a partner that Laura was talking about. One of our community partners might need something but not have the ability to hire a full fellow. So we might be able to set up something student hourly. We actually have a couple of those running this year. Sometimes faculty have research opportunities, and they've written into their budget hiring a student to work maybe like 10 hours a week. And so those kind of come up, like I said, throughout the year. So if you are awarded a scholarship, you would be eligible to then be considered for student hourly work. So those two can be combined. And then other opportunities. So we talked a little bit about the student hourly work there and the examples of that. And if you are interested in looking at, so that's like MSP and the Institute, but if you're interested in looking at across the board, UWM hires for hourly positions all the time in the various offices on campus. And you can go to, there's a system called Handshake. And if you follow the link that's there, you can apply to, like we had a student working this year in the neighborhood services office. We've had students working in like some of the resource centers on campus. And even over the summer doing like physical work. We had a student that was painting buildings one summer to make extra money, and all of those type of hourly positions through campus can be accessed at the link that's up here. And then you may also apply for other UWM scholarships. So the scholarships I was referring to on the last page are more through our specific program, like they're specifically for MSP students. UWM does sometimes have scholarships that MSP students can apply to that are like broader, not just for MSP. And you can search for those and apply through the Academic Works link that's up on the page here. And then lastly, I would say we have had students in the past be really, really successful finding opportunities off campus, like external funding opportunities. So those could be like a fellowship where you get, those can vary. They can just be funding or some type of like position. External scholarships. I know Rotary, for example, some of the Rotary groups in the greater Milwaukee area award education awards from time to time. And then sponsorships, we have had students, like particularly international students, find a sponsor that helps finance their education. And so we always say the earlier you can start looking for those opportunities, the better. And that offers you flexibility, you know, and just in terms of knowing that you have funding up front and then kind of finding pieces to put your whole funding package together if you're able to come with that. So if you have questions about any of those, you know, please let us know in just a moment here or as a follow-up. But lastly here, I want to include a little bit of important information. So full-time MSP study requires a minimum of 36 hours of class and study time each week from September to May. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're applying for some of these positions that are like 13 or 20 hours a week, that if you're already working, for example, a part-time job or a full-time job off campus, once you think about starting your study, which is basically full-time, like just kind of thinking about how many hours you have in a week and what's manageable. So just kind of an FYI information that's important to know. And then also just other costs of graduate study. If you are not from Milwaukee and you don't have an idea of like what housing costs are or how you should plan to finance your meals and your groceries and that type of a thing, our graduate school has a view book. And if you look, you can follow the link here and then look on pages 9 and 10. It outlines like tuition costs for in-state and out of state, and also kind of what to plan for cost of living and food and those types of things. So just kind of important information as you're putting your budget together. And then finally, in order to be considered for any MSP or Institute for Systems Change and Peacebuilding opportunities, we do need to get a funding application from you. It's really more of a funding survey. Laura put this together through Qualtrics. Mostly it's like multiple choice. There's a couple fill in the blank and a couple uploads that you'll need to do. But we'll ask you to do that by the end of the month if you'd like to be considered for any funding through our programs for this next academic year. And at that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn off the recording, and I'll, open it up to Tim and Laura if they have anything else to add, and then we can open it up for questions. And this is really meant to be a discussion. So let me stop sharing my screen. Feel free to jump in, Tim and Laura, if you have anything to add here.
I'll just add one quickly about the application. You'll see that it does ask you to upload a resume or CV, as well as the personal statement that you use to apply for MSP. So this is just meant, we don't want you to have to write a whole new essay or anything like that. So it's meant to hopefully make your life easier, but allows Tim and I to also learn a little bit more about you and start thinking through where a good placement might be for you. So that's the reason why we're just asking you to sort of re-upload your MSP personal statement.
Yeah, and if I may, I'll introduce myself. I'm Tim Ellinger. I teach in the MSP program, and also with Laura, work with the Systems Change and Peacebuilding Institute. I just wanted to say one thing about the fellowships, the Institute fellowships, particularly to students that are coming internationally. One of the important navigations, one of the things we have to work through is using that fellowship as a way to show financial support as part of application for your student visa to come here. That's one of the reasons why the fellowships are structured the way they are, because they provide that necessary information that's required for the visa process. And I'm assuming that many of you here are coming from international places. So that's an important navigation or step that we have to go through. And I'm not sure if that was talked about in the presentation. I kind of came in and out a little bit. So Laura or Bridget, we might speak to that a little bit more.